Welcome back to Briggs on Books, a truly international talk show. We talk to artists, publishers, people who do the cover art, anything to do with getting books published, we talk about on this show. Our next guest has been here before, David Borofka, a local author from right here in the Fresno area, Reedley.
Clovis.
Clovis, you live in Clovis?
Right.
But you taught where I taught, Reedley College.
That's correct.
Yeah,
and you taught there for about 36 years.
36 years, wow. And you're an English teacher.
Correct.
And you have, we're going to look at this book. I'm going to pop the cover up for a minute. The End of Good Intentions. And also, if we have time, and then I'm going to ask you about some other books you wrote.
Okay.
Because you have a few.
Right.
Tell me just a little bit about this book, The End of Good Intentions.
Well, it's a novel that's really, it spans about 50 years' time. It's set here in the Central Valley in the foothills of the Sierra, just going up 180. You'll recognize a few locations there.
I was going to ask you that. Will we, since we're from the area, will we see anything? Oh yeah, I know that place.
Yeah, the Cat Haven.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay, so it focuses on a fictional Christian college there in the mountains that starts out as a relatively mainline denominational school, but over the course of time becomes more and more evangelical, more strident, more politicized. So it kind of replicates a little bit of what we've seen over the last few decades in terms of how religion and politics do or do not mix.
Are there any current events mixed in there?
There's some references to what has happened. Primarily, I think the thing that may be the most familiar to folks is just the subject of wildfires.
Wildfires, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of current events.
It is current events, and so this is a book that begins with a fire and it ends with a fire.
I don't know if our viewers can see it, but that is what that cover is, right?
That is.
Actual forest fire. I see a little cross
Right.
in there. My daughter went to Pepperdine University.
Sure.
And there was a fire.
Uh-huh.
And burned right up to the lawn and burned the cross. It looks
Right.
just like that picture, in fact. Very similar.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get interested in religion as a subject, or subject in your books or of your books?
Well, I think just about all of the things that I've written have had some element of religion as part of the subject matter. I was raised as an Episcopalian. I did go to a Baptist high school. I was very involved in a Christian fellowship during college. My wife and I came through what was a fairly evangelical kind of background. Over the years, though, I've just seen how much various groups how much influence groups have on individuals, and whether and I think over the last 50 years, I think we've been very aware of certain groups and how extreme they can become, whether we're talking about the People's Temple back in the late 1970s or the Branch Davidians in the 90s, Heaven's Gate, and there's probably a dozen more that we could name. These are all pretty spectacular and sensational kinds of events, but I think in smaller ways, groups can have a really undue influence on the individuals within those groups, sometimes for the good, oftentimes for the not so good.
Tell me a little bit about what happens in the novel. I don't want you to give anything away, but there's people and something happens.
There's people, something happens, that's true. Primarily, it is the characters who have had some sort of relationship to this school, whether it's by virtue of having attended there or by virtue of living near there, and just how their lives are touched within that environment.
And at some point, there's a fire.
And there are fires.
There are fires. Yes. Now, you finished this. When did you finish?
I finished that really probably in about 2020.
And you started about when?
Well, the very first chapter was something that I wrote as a story in about 2017. Actually, a little before that. It was published as a story in 2017.
So 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
Live with this.
Then when I retired in 2019, I was thinking I really want to write something longer. I didn't quite know where to start. I went back to the story and I thought, there's more here that can be explored. And originally, what I'd intended was that this first chapter would involve one particular character, a man named Ivor Mortensen. But within that chapter, there are mentions of some other characters. And I thought, well, chapter 1 is going to introduce, focus on one character, but there will be some secondary characters. And chapter 2 picks up one of those secondary characters.
Nice.
And I thought it would just accordion out. And it did to a certain extent that way.
Do you know where it was going?
No.
Now, by the way, so 5 years you spent on this. Looking back, was there anything you would have done different or wanted to change in the book?
Yeah, I think it is a story that involves people within this religious context, and I think one of the things that I realized kind of after the fact is that I don't know how authentic any one of the characters. How authentic any one of their faiths really is. They're all there for very different reasons.
Different reasons, yeah.
And I don't know how truly spiritual any of the characters are.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds intriguing, though. We got to read it. Now, there's a chance, I think, where people could come meet the author, David Borofka.
Borofka, that's right.
Hard. I don't know why. And also another author. Is he local?
He was local. He used to teach over at Clovis Community College several years ago. He now is teaching over at Moore Park, Ryan Kennedy. And what's interesting is his novel, The Blameless, coming out from University of Wisconsin Press just this past month. His novel also takes on some religious subjects as well. So I think we'll have a really fun conversation together, and I hope people will come out.
And, of course, this author will be there, too. David Borofka will be there.
That is true.
And somewhere on here, I have the date. Here we go. I got it there. It'll appear at the bottom right now. November 18th, 2023. So if you see this interview in 2024, you missed it. But
Right.
That's it. Tell us where it is. Book Barn?
Book Barn, yeah.
Where's that exactly?
That is at 6th and Clovis.
Clovis and 6th Street. So that is kind of near where Bullard would go. Bullard went through, I think.
Right, yeah. It's just south of Bullard,
Yeah, just south
between
of
Bullard and Barstow.
But what's fun about this kind of thing is I like to meet the author. I like to get autographed, of course, and then I like to get my picture with the author, and then I take my picture, and there's the autograph, and I paste the picture with the author in the book. I've got a lot of those with big authors, so,
Right.
with big guys. So now I think I had your web address up there too. Let's take a look. There it is, davidborofka.com. What will people find there?
Oh, they'll find the various events that I have going on in relationship to this book. They'll find other stories. They'll find some reviews. They'll find classes that I'm currently teaching for UCLA Extension, the Writers Program.
And tell us about your previous books.
Previous books, I won the Iowa Short Fiction Award with a story collection called Hints of His Mortality. Another novel, The Island. And then just a year and a half ago, I had another collection of stories out with Johns Hopkins called A Longing for Impossible Things.
You're prolific.
Well, and then there will be a new collection coming out in 2025, also with Johns Hopkins, called The Bliss of Your Attention.
Wow. That's great to have them as your publisher.
Sure,
It's
yeah.
incredible. I don't want you to go without us flashing a picture of your dog.
Okay, this picture, the publisher said they wanted something other than a
Just
headshot,
a headshot, something a little
and
different.
something a little different. And
Is it actually your dog?
it is my wife's dog. He and I have a certain détente.
Detente. I want to say this, is that coming up is Christmas, for one thing.
That's true.
And I always think, what am I get that person? A new necktie, a scarf, a hat, whatever. Books are a great thing to give at Christmas. So
That's
don't
true.
go order one of these. Click 5 or click 10 of these. Give them out. Also, I have to go to people's houses for parties and dinners
Right.
during this season. And I always take a host gift. And I guarantee if I give somebody a gift of this book, in 10 years it'll still be on their shelf. Because gifts they don't throw away or give away.
That's true.
Or re-gift. They always keep them. So it's a good idea. Are we good? Last thoughts for our viewers?
Oh, just come on out to the Book Barn, and we will have just a stimulating conversation.
Okay, very good. We will be back with more Briggs on Books with another author right after this.